All right, so it says I'm live, and sometimes I'm actually live. But just to make sure, if you can see me and if you can hear me, then let me know in the comments so I am aware of whether things look good or sound good or any of those things that actually matter, because I'm trying to make sure you guys have a good time. And obviously, maybe the way that I look or sound doesn't have any effect on that. So, all right, looks like we're going. So, if you can hear me, if you can see me, let me know. If everything looks good, sounds good, then I'm happy. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. We are here to have a chat. It is Marauder Mondays, and we do not have a guest tonight. So when I keep saying we, I'm not saying it in the royal way. I'm saying it in the sense of all of us here together, because this is a community, and there is a lot of great people here that have a lot of input to, help us along with this conversation, because there's so much happening in the world right now. And there's so much going on, especially in the sense of, I guess the best way to say it is negativity, that we kind of know that these are very uncertain times. I think that we all can agree on that. And when I say times of uncertainty, I don't necessarily mean it in the sense of like, who knows what's going to happen next. I more mean it on that you can't count on anything. You can't actually guarantee anything at this point in time. So this is very important for us to all realize, as people who want to be more prepared, that we're in an era of no guarantees. We're in an era where nothing is without risk. And that is something that we have to really wrap our heads around and try to work with while we move forward in our preparedness. Okay, so people are letting me know you can hear me, you can see me. That's amazing. JS says, we hear you, your camera still hates you. It's a bit out of focus. My camera does hate me, but I am working on that. And we are actually trying to figure out the best next step for acquiring a new camera. But what's great about that, because I am actually investing in some better equipment just so I can present things a little bit better to everybody out there and try to, give you guys a better message, because I don't want to distract people with terrible video quality and whatnot. But John Pander loves the Red Dawn poster. It is amazing. I agree. What I will say is, segueing into the main conversation of tonight, trying to find the camera that I'm looking for has been difficult. And it is interesting just how sold out everything is when it comes to electronics, when it comes to specific niche items specifically, which should definitely give you a red flag or a warning sign that this is the tip of the iceberg. It's not necessarily going to show up in the major concentrated areas of concern right away, like things like food or medical supplies or things that we know are necessary for survival. But what we will see it in is the niche things that have a certain level of demand that if everybody was to try to meet that demand simultaneously, they would fail. So there's only so much supply of things like specific DSLR cameras that people like myself are looking for in order to produce higher quality content. However, 2 years ago, I could have easily bought a similar camera without having any issues at all. And in this situation we're in right now, it's actually proving to be difficult, and I'm talking most of your major companies are out of just the standard issue models. And when I say that, what I mean is like Best Buy, Amazon, Walmart, like the people you would buy these things from without having to think twice about it. Even places like Newegg are out. And when that many of the same item are sold out, it's not because of some crazy consumer demand. It's not the next Tickle Me Elmo. It is because it's that short in supply due to the limited manufacturing processes that everybody is dealing with right now. So I want to get in the chat real quick, make sure that I say hello to some people. Let's see here. Mona Sheep Prepping, welcome. Vegan Prepper, good to see you. Papa Smurf is here. We got Dennis Nixon, who says we all need to throw open our windows and yell, I am mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And, whenever I jam out to Twisted Sister, I feel very similarly. So Mark Fallows, thank you so much. That's a huge super chat. Not necessary at all, but I do appreciate it. And I really hope you have what you need before you're doing things like that for people like myself. But wow, thank you so much. Like, it's really appreciated. I hope you understand. Let's see. Agate Beowulf is here. Marcy Webb is here. And South Florida DCL is here. Awesome. Roaming Prepper, another good person is here. We have some excellent other creators here in the chat. We also have people who are part of this community, and there's some excellent resources. So make sure you guys access those when you're able to. It is interesting that YouTube removed the ability to visit somebody's channel directly from the live chat a while ago. Originally, you could actually just find their channel directly from the chat. So I have a feeling some of that has to do with limiting the ability to network with like-minded people, because I don't really see there being another benefit besides the fact that they're trying to probably eliminate certain types of bullying, I guess, if people are going to bum rush somebody's channel during a live chat that nobody agreed with them on or something like that. But in reality, I think we know that limiting our ability to network is actually beneficial for most of the people who are concerned about maintaining a certain level of power at this time. All right. Prairie Man ND says North Dakota is here. And yes, I am in North Dakota. So in case you're unaware of that, that's where I'm located. And it is strategic in some ways in the sense of being away from the masses. But it definitely has its challenges when it comes to survival when you're talking about negative 40 degrees. So pros and cons, but I do like it here quite a bit. And when it comes to things like 2A related stuff, it's an amazing place to be. So, right. Let's talk about Nurse Jean. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's talk about why these times are so uncertain and what's really happening and what's causing a lot of this uncertainty. And when I say it, it's not just uncertain, you know, like we don't know where we're going, dark winter, you know, crazy midterm cycle, who knows what. It's more about that we cannot necessarily assume we'll have what we want or have what we need or have services that we need to be able to access when those times come, okay? And there's a lot of different examples of that. But it's a lot of things that are kind of moving into a certain direction that kind of, you know, have given me some ideas, okay? And what we're going to talk about tonight a little bit is some of what you guys will see in tomorrow night's video. So that should be kind of interesting, but I don't mind giving you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. But there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. And now when we talk about shortages, we talk about the supply chain, we talk about specifically things falling apart when we're in course from, you know, China or Asia over to the United States. Yes, that's where a huge part of the supply chain comes from. And of course, that's where all these ports are clogged up because of boats coming in from that area. So this is a huge issue. But here's some stuff that I found interesting. I just want to kind of remind you guys about how you can either say that the stage was set in this way before things even started to take a downward turn, or you could even just say that there were other steps towards this inevitable downfall. But either way, there were reports of similar problems before even 2020. And so real quick, I'm going to show you guys a little article I pulled up here, because this is what we like to do, right? It's kind of fun. We talk, we jam out the different fantastical ideas about SHTF, and then we show real world examples as to where we're probably heading and stuff that we need to keep in mind to be able to be better prepared. And that is what I'm going to try to do right now for you. So here is an interesting little tidbit that I found that I felt like would be interesting for you guys. So this article, right, was written July 10th, 2019. So this is before all of the shenanigans that have occurred that have created such a supply chain issue that we're dealing with right now. But back then, July 10th, 2019, Walmart supplier says Chinese factories in desperate state. So you have to understand that back then we were still in a trade war when it came to tariffs, when it came to negotiating how we were going to conduct business as nations. And a lot of things were happening or being set up at that time to possibly create quite a bit of this situation, okay? So some of the things I really want you guys to kind of keep an eye on here is that some of the article here was talking about the fact that a lot of companies didn't necessarily pull out of China to avoid tariffs and whatnot to just move back to the United States. A lot of companies still remained abroad, but went to other countries that were not as affected by some of these measures. So one of those countries was Vietnam. And what a lot of people were saying basically is that Vietnam was completely full when it came to American manufacturers trying to find new places to establish themselves. So understand that just because a lot of companies pulled out of China during that time, tons of them still remained in Asia, but just didn't stay in China. So there's a lot of interesting information here, but basically what they were trying to say is that the suppliers were in a desperate state already. The factories were not able to operate, and people were pulling out, and investors were pulling back, and people were not feeling safe with putting their money into this manufacturing that was necessary for things to kind of keep moving forward in the same speed and trajectory that we were in before. So all I wanted to show you guys is that this all started pre-2020. This is 2019. July 10th. This isn't like December 2019. This is in the middle of that year. And a lot of it, started with the trade war. And you can, speculate on as to like what that created on its own that changed the entire climate of the global marketplace. But I wanted to remind you guys that this has been a lot of dominoes falling in a certain order for a while now that haven't necessarily been one specific action. This is a lot of things that have culminated into where we are right now. And it's really interesting that we have gotten ourselves into a position where, things from 2019 are still relevant today. And in fact, often prophesize where we would be right now, but maybe just not as detail oriented as like we would have liked, in the sense of like, this is why this is going to happen. It was more just letting us know that there was already a strain on the supply and there was already a strain on the ability to meet demand. And here we are now with a much more difficult situation than a lot of us have faced in a long time when it comes to the actual realization of not being able to get what we need. Okay. So let's see here. So D14JBS, I'm going to say it that way, I guess, says 4-day countdown to the next phase beginning. So that's an interesting thing. And what they're referring to is this whole government shutdown thing. Now, here's my opinion on that situation, because we run into this regularly. They always raise the debt ceiling. They're always moving that needle a little bit further forward and kicking the can down the road. And of course, it creates a lot of drama and speculation. And what if we default all our debts? We won't be able to pay them. Next thing you know, the piper comes to get paid and things fall apart very quickly. And on a global economy scale, everything falls apart. But I feel like they're going to figure out a way to avoid it. They're going to raise the debt ceiling. They'll continue to raise the debt ceiling until for some reason there's not a reason to do it anymore. But I think that, I don't know, I just feel like we're in a situation at this point where nobody really has any shame in that any longer, and nobody really dismisses the idea that we'll ever be able to pay back this debt anyway. So I think for them, it's just easier to kind of say, let's just do it some more. And then, of course, you're going to have your hoorahs that are in the audience that want to say, and that's not against anybody. I use that as just a term of people yelling in the background is what I was trying to say, that want to make a lot of noise and then basically look a certain way in the media, but don't actually accomplish anything. So that's what we're doing right now. And that's where we're at. So you know what? That government shutdown might be a thing. It was apparently, blocked in the Senate, for the bill to go through or whatever it is. But there's other ways like reconciliation for people to move forward on that without having everybody on board. So we'll see what happens. But yes, if they do decide to actually go through and let that debt ceiling stay where it is now and then start defaulting come mid-October, things will be very interesting on the world stage. You have to admit that. And you can expect crazy amounts of inflation along with a huge recession that's probably worse than where we even are right now. So times of uncertainty, okay? Only one said, thanks, MP, that hurt. You know what I meant. See, I knew as soon as I did, I was like, what the heck did I just say? It's ridiculous. I just meant loudness. Okay, so we are trying to just kind of chat tonight about why things are so uncertain. And one of the biggest things, and this is just going to keep happening, and this is where I'm starting to move into new territory of where I feel like some of this design could start to move forward, okay? So the labor shortage is being blamed for like everything now, because originally raw materials and resources that were necessary to create products was the biggest part of the shortage. Now we're seeing that the labor shortage is actually where a lot of the problems are coming from, because you can have as many raw materials as you want, but if you don't have the factory workers there in order to put those materials into place and create the product that then has to go to market, you still don't have a way of moving the raw material. If you don't have the workers there to unload the cargo ships that are sitting in port right now that are still not being unloaded, then how are you going to get the products to where they belong? And if you don't have the workers to deal with people's medical service needs, then how are you going to administer those needs when the time comes? So when you start thinking of things in that term, all right, you start thinking of things broadly, and you say all those things together out loud, you start to feel like what's the solution? If you're in a situation where you have to make a decision here and create a solution for this problem, and you have the power to do it from an ivory tower, it almost seems obvious, doesn't it? So now let's talk. Let's go through this really quickly, and I want to give you guys, the rundown so you can see some of my scientific method, which is not scientific, but it will give you some insight as to how we can kind of theorize on what's happening in the future based on, current information. Nothing false, nothing that's against facts here. We're just going to talk about what is happening that we're aware of and how it could easily lead to something else that we know is a possibility. So let's get back to being adults here and using things like the internet for what they're made for. I guess maybe they weren't made for this at all, but seems like it is a thing. So U.S. businesses are closing because they can't find anyone to work. Here's why. We already know why. Everyone knows why. But this reminded me of a few things, especially some personal experiences that I've had recently. And I wanted to bring this up because it is true. And people cannot hire, but there's being a lot of blame placed on the unemployment benefits, federal benefits, all of the, eviction moratoriums and everything else that allowed people to not worry about earning an income for a certain amount of time. However, a lot of the programs have ended, and a lot of people still weren't necessarily making, tons of money on those programs, maybe more than they were before, but they weren't getting rich by any means. So I would have to guess that a lot of this unemployment shortage is actually more about the shift in employment than it is just the fact that people don't want to come to work. When so many people shifted to working remotely from home, there was a change in dynamic for people to understand a work-life balance that they hadn't had before, and whether or not that work-life balance was worth the pay cut or something was something they had to make as a personal choice. But what I will say is that a lot of people found alternate routes to earn an income, especially via remote work, that are not back in the marketplace looking for those service-related jobs that we're often hearing about here. And when you talk about small businesses, I mean, you're talking about mostly service-related jobs. You're talking about, bartenders, servers. You're talking about hairstylists. You're talking about customer service employees, cashiers, tellers at banks. You're talking about those people that are required to kind of keep things moving, especially in the service aspect. But a lot of those people don't necessarily want to be in those positions either. Often they find themselves there as an intermediary between one career to the next, or whatever it might be, education to a career, whatever it is they're trying to work towards. So when a lot of people have the opportunity to work online, find remote work, and find alternate ways to earn an income, they maybe stayed in that realm regardless of how people are looking at it from the sense of unemployment. Now, of course, a lot of people are taking advantage of government programs. I just don't think that enough people are talking about the amount of people who changed their entire work dynamic to a different concept than what they were doing before. Now, the other thing I want to mention about this is that businesses have to have employees to survive. And businesses know that every time you change your hours, every time you close a business, every time you close for a day or two, or you close on the weekends, or you only open from 4 to 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, every single time you have to limit those hours of availability, people lose trust in your business. People lose confidence that you're going to be open when they think you should be. So if you're used to a place being open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, for example, like a lot of grocery stores or Walmart or a lot of other big box stores were before 2020, and then you suddenly start going there at 11 o'clock at night and they're no longer open, you might find an alternate place to go. And what a lot of these businesses are facing is the fact that because of this employment shortage, this labor shortage, they're not able to even open for the hours that they would like to be open. And in doing so, they have to change their hours in order to maintain the employees they have. And by doing that, people stop coming to their business because they're not open on the day they usually go. They no longer open for that time of day that they're usually available. They're no longer, accessible at a time of convenience. There's a lot of reasons why people stop participating with certain businesses based on the fact that things have changed for them, okay? Now, what's going to happen here? What a lot of people understand, like, yes, this whole article basically tells you that all the government programs and everything else that happened have recently created the fact that there is no one to work anymore. Got it. We all get that. I get that. I think you all understand that. What I don't think we're touching on is the fact that once these businesses close because they cannot hire people, they don't just reopen. People can't just keep paying a lease for however long, months, years, whatever it might be. They can't keep paying utilities. They can't keep paying licenses and fees and everything else related to maintaining an empty building. And those people are going to pack up, and that's going to be it. And every business that closes due to this labor shortage is going to be one less place for somebody to get a job. So as right now, we have actually more open jobs in the country than what we have in the sense of unemployed people, which makes a lot of people upset, saying, well, then why are these people still on benefits and why are we still giving these things out? What you have to understand is this is going to create a problem down the road where more and more businesses will close, less and less jobs will exist, and then more and more people will have to rely on that government money because there won't be any more jobs to go back to. And as a personal example of this, and this should concern you because some corporations, some corporations have very strong opinions about what they do with their business, Some companies do not like to put themselves in a negative light no matter what. And they will do almost anything to avoid doing some of these business tactics that we just talked about, like shutting down for certain days of the week. It's hard to swallow as a business owner to make those decisions, especially a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has all the options in the world to pump as much money as they want to into not making those decisions if they don't absolutely have to. But I will tell you, because at times we indulge in terrible things in this family, but there's 2 Starbucks locations in Minot, North Dakota, and one of them is now closed, so that they could consolidate their employees to one location in order to maintain a business and maintain their ability to be open. Now, regardless of how you feel about everything I just said, because I have revealed myself to be quite a yuppie apparently, what I'm trying to say is that that's one company that I would never expect to actually agree with doing that. Having a franchise of one of their locations is extremely difficult in the sense of a process, and most of the locations are corporate owned because of that. Their standards are very rigorous, and it would be very difficult for them to make the decision to literally close a location just so they could fully staff another. And that's what they had to do. And as an example to this whole scenario, you should definitely be looking at that as a wow situation, because if you don't understand the inner workings of franchise companies and multi-billion-dollar chain companies that are involved in the food service industry, Starbucks is one of the most polished out there. They have it figured out. They know what they're doing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have every T crossed and their I's dotted. And even they are literally closing locations just to stay fully staffed. That should tell you a lot, okay? So everyone say whatever it is that you want to say about that interaction I had with that company. All right, and I love you guys because you guys, you give it to me straight, and I love that about you, okay? Prepper Now's in the house. Thank you so much for bringing here. Northern Girl Hobbies is also here. Thank you guys so much for being here and modding. You guys do your thing. Plain Prepper, you called me out, and I like that about you. So all I'm trying to say is that when companies like that have to make those decisions that are extremely difficult, it means things are serious. It does not mean that things are just bad for the little person, okay? It's everywhere. And look, people want to hire, they can't hire. There's a lot of problems happening right now. And, let's talk about what we're doing and how we're moving into that realm, that territory, okay? Because it's getting interesting. Let's just keep going because there's more to talk about, okay? So, yep. This just happened, and, here's what we're going to say about it, because there is a lot to say, all right? This is today, okay, and obviously it's going to cause a disruption. Now, here's the hardest part about this whole situation, is that we're talking about labor shortages, and now we're putting situations in a place that are creating even more labor shortages and exasperating the problem and causing this issue to get even further. And then it's such a counterintuitive scenario when you're talking about not having enough staff to take care of the people who are being affected by the problem that's causing all of this, but then letting everyone leave who doesn't want to deal with the situation you put into place over principle, and then not having enough people once again. So here we are, okay? Yardbirds, I totally do, okay? Here's the whole thing. All right, we're just connecting dots here. We're not here to talk about yay or nay or any of that stuff when it comes to this. What we're here to talk about is the good stuff. And the good stuff, which you all are very aware of, but if not, I'll be happy to let you know about it. The solution, okay? So the solution is this. And when you get to the solution, you start to realize that there's always been a solution. And the solution is just so easy, right? Why not just utilize federal employees to fill the gaps, right? And when you start to move forward in the sense of this type of solution, you start to apply it to other aspects of society, that's when things start to get very interesting. And it is something that we should be definitely keeping an eye on, because instead of compromising, instead of trying to find common ground, instead of trying to find alternative routes to avoiding this mass exodus of workers, right, that we supposedly need very badly, then you're not going to compromise. You're going to just provide the ultimatum of, here is what we're going to do if you leave. And now, okay, Prepper Now, I hear you. Gardner Josh, thanks for being here as well. And I see other good people here. Hey, look at that. So here's what I like about this crowd, this community. You guys are amazing. It's like you're always right on top of it because you're in the know and you're doing your best to try to stay ahead of things, right? Okay. Well, trying to see here. Chris Patrick, okay? Chris Patrick. Police are quitting en masse because of forcing them to do things, okay? Not just that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why police are leaving, for a lot of reasons, okay? And look, we need police in one way or another. Do I like everything police do? No. Do I want police involved in my daily life? No. Do I want police to call when I need a police officer? Yeah. So here's what I'm going to say about that. Well, maybe I won't say it. Maybe I'll just show you. It's just what we do. All right. This is my favorite thing. We're connecting dots here, people. I need you here with me to do it because I'm not as good at it as I try to sound like I am. All right. Boom. Worker shortage has Metro Detroit police departments ramping up recruitment efforts. Okay. The police are getting expanded budgets. There's reports of that all over the country. Look it up if you want. But lots of mayors in lots of different cities are saying yes to more money for the police because they're realizing that after the events of 2020, that things can get out of hand very quickly, and they don't want to see that happen to their constituency. Or at least that's what they would probably say in order to make everyone feel good, right? But what I want to tell you is that when you connect the idea of what's happening to the medical field, and then you start looking at what's happening in the police departments around the country, it's not hard to foresee the possibilities here in the future for how they're going to fix these problems. And when the federal government keeps trying to fix our problems for us by inserting federal employees or, I don't know, people that are members of the National Guard into different aspects of our lives and different industries around the country, suddenly things start to become extremely nationalized and things become very militarized as well. And we start moving into a strange territory where you can't really separate one or the other. And it seems like we are heading in that direction just based on the trajectory of things. I mean, it's only a few months, years, less away. I mean, just take a look at what's happening out there. And this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is uncertain, right? Time of uncertainty. Where are we going? Well, here's some ideas for you because the answers are there for us. We just haven't gotten them for every single scenario. But when you start looking at them for one thing at a time, you start to realize that there's no reason not to look at each problem that has a similar situation to receive the same solution, right? And when the solution works, which we'll see if it does or not, but I have a feeling they'll make sure it does, then it's easily applied to other areas, regions, and industries. And that's what we should be definitely keeping an eye on right now. Hold on now. Roaming Prepper says, setting the stage for federalization. It seems that way. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about because inflation's through the roof. The Fed is all over the place when it comes to how they're dealing with the scenarios at hand. You have multiple companies that are involved in the S&P 500 stating inflation as being one of their biggest reasons for why their returns aren't what it is they're looking for in their quarterly reports. There's a lot of red flags and indicators out there right now that this is where things are going. And when you have people in the administration saying things like a $3.5 trillion bill will not add to the national debt, then we have to have a feeling that there's already concepts in place for why that won't matter. It might not add to it if it doesn't exist, might not add to it if it doesn't get counted any longer, if we no longer have to consider the actual number. I don't know. But that is exactly how we are feeling. OC, I am feeling great. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Just wanted to touch base here with all of you. OHK, I just want you to know YouTube flagged your comment, okay? I didn't, but you're right. So I can at least say that to you, okay? All right. I hope that makes you feel better, because that's just how this works sometimes, is the comments get sucked away by YouTube before even the mods or myself get to them, all right? So, yes, roaming prepper, on board with that 100%, okay? OC invested in the Russian ammunition. Excellent choice, OC. And I'm glad you did that before it became even more problematic to get, which that's where we are now. So, Kevin Moore says, federalizing law enforcement is something we don't want. States' rights and local control be replaced with a system that will homogenize laws, that will establish a totalitarian government. And that's what I'm trying to at least have us keep an eye on. Okay, look, we're not here to say, like, this is happening right now and you have to get under your desk and cover because it's 1962 again. That's not the whole goal here. What we're trying to say is that when you see the different steps being put into place, it's easy to connect those steps to where they eventually end up. And we should be aware of that and conversate about it so that when things start to drop, we are aware of what it is that's happening right off the bat. And you don't get surprised by it. You don't get taken off guard by it. You already have a plan in place and how you're going to react to it. And then you move on from there. Now, with this time of uncertainty, okay, it is important to do a few things. And I want to talk to you guys about being proactive as well, okay? There's so many things out there that might not be available to you here in the near future. And when I say that, I mean not just commodities, not just products or goods, but services as well. And I do think it's very important for everyone to get out there and make sure you're getting what you need personally before you aren't able to. And you know, I hate the whole concept of panic buying or anything like that. So I'm not necessarily trying to advocate for that. What I'm trying to say is if there's specific needs that you have, yes, we all will need more water. We will all need more food. We will all need more backup power. We will all need all those things, of course. And there's never really an end game there. You always can get more, right? So I'm not talking about that necessarily, because yes, of course, that should be part of your regimen at this point. You should just be doing it anyway. But what I'm trying to say is that if there's specific things that you need to move forward, not only in your preparedness, but in your personal life, in your ability to improve, then make sure you try your best to get those things and prioritize them now. So that way you don't find yourself having to wait around for it to maybe never come back. Okay. When I started this chat today, which there was much less people in here at that time, so I can just kind of go over that really quickly again. I was talking about a certain camera that I've been looking for. It's completely sold out, trying to get the production quality better here for everybody. And I want all of you to have a better experience. But it's sold out everywhere. The only way you can buy it is with these really expensive kits that become much more expensive than just buying the camera, which is all I really need. So that is one example of something that I am trying to prioritize to get ahead of time, and I wasn't able to because I'm already basically too late. Yes, I am still going to be able to acquire it, and it is very expensive, but I'm just letting you know that with how many places I've looked for it, where it's been sold out over and over and over again, it should just be a good reminder that, like, yeah, I don't need it in the same way that I need food and water and power. I need it in the sense of being able to move forward and keep progressing. And if you need something for your personal business, if you need something for your home that's going to actually be a long-term repair or something that's going to improve your quality of life, those are the things that we should really be looking at right now. And I also want to mention that this is something you should be doing too, which is receiving proper training. Now, I did actually recently take a carbine course here in North Dakota, which was very cool. And I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks, get some footage for you guys. We'll talk about it more. I'll give you all the details. And it's awesome that this training is being offered here in North Dakota. And I'm sure a lot of you are very unaware of it. So I'm excited to kind of spread the word about that. But I took a carbine course. I learned that I had a lot to learn, which is important and good because you know what? We all can always do better. So I'm going to get out there and do more drills. I'm going to get out there and practice more. And I learned a lot that I just could not improve on myself with by myself. So having that team there to kind of push me forward and teach me was extremely valuable. But at what point will I not be able to access that? At what point will I not be able to get that training because of X, Y, or Z? Those are things that you have to consider. I'm also hoping to sign up for a medical training course here soon as well for the same reasons. Do I have previous medical training? I do. Do I need to learn it over again because it's been so long? 100%. And do I want to actually learn more about some of the more specialized tools that we have in our first aid kits these days, like a decompression needle? Of course. Do you have the idea of how those work? Probably. Do you have the hands-on experience with a dummy actually placing it where it belongs in that situation? I mean, I don't. So those are things that I'm trying to get done because let's be honest, how long will it be before you can't? And that's, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that. But that's what I'm talking about with times of uncertainty. We have to get out of our own way, okay? Can I go spend another $500 on food right now and store it away and feel good about that? 100%. And honestly, I need to, right? I don't really have $500 right now to do that with, but I am working on getting more food all the time. It's just part of the deal. But do I need to prioritize some of the things that are going to be even harder to get due to their specialty nature, due to their niche application, and due to the fact that a lot of what it is we're looking for is being restricted to what you can find online because of its specialized situation? Yes, I think so. And when I've been looking for some of this stuff, like I said, camera equipment, it's electronics, it's affected by the microchip shortage. And okay, hold on. This is where I go boomer on you guys and I forget how to use a computer. I always dog on myself about not being able to use computers, but I mean, I'm pretty decent on the computer, so I don't know why I do that. Anyhow, here we go, right? Remember the microchip shortage? Me too. Oh, wait, it's actually a labor shortage. It just keeps piling up. It just keeps going, okay? And microchips are as much of a national security concern as almost any other, commodity out there. I mean, microchips are extremely valuable for military use, of course, right? And yeah, there's that remote possibility that those chips that are produced in countries that aren't always our friend are in a lot of our military equipment, and who knows what they'll be able to do with them at some point. But moving on from that concept, they can't even get the chips out because there's no one to work. They don't have people to make the chips. They don't have people to package them. They don't have people to ship them. They don't have people to transport them. It just goes down the line. They want to get more chips out. We need more chips. Everybody needs them. The auto industry, the military, computer industry, the medical industry, every single industry needs microchips. And they just can't get them because now it's not even just about the supply. It's about the labor. And it's just one more reason why this whole thing is turning into an interesting pile of crap. Because I didn't really know how else to say that, but that's true. I mean, it's just what it feels like, okay? Matt's got a bag of chips. I like that, Matt. Good work. Prescott Caliber Club. Good to see you, Ryan. Thank you so much for being here. Awesome guy. If you guys don't know about Ryan, check out Prescott Caliber Club. But I do want you guys to understand that you're talking about niche items. We're in a difficult space, okay? And because Ryan showed up, I'll just mention this as well, all right? And let's just talk about this real quick. If there's certain items you're looking to get that require certain forms to be filled out, that require certain entities to review and approve, that take maybe 6 to 9 to 10 months or so for things to get turned back around and for you to pay an additional tax in order to acquire those items, that's a large time frame at this point in time. 6 to 9 to 10 months. You might want to move on that now. If you know, you know. All right, so let's see here. Mike R93, like button equals whatever he's saying. what I want to say is that it was funny that that comment was actually flagged, and I'm glad somebody allowed it. So good job, mods. Okay. All right. So I just want you guys to understand that this is where we are. And it's like, I wish I could tell you we're going to be fine, but nobody knows that. Real quick, coffee, got to go. So good. Okay. I got vehicle service done today. Okay. I had to get an alignment because my wife's car was just not going straight. It might be all those, donuts I do in our driveway when she's not looking, but that's a different story. I know she listens to this, so I just screwed up. But what I want to say is that in the tire shop where I was getting the alignment done, I heard the employee talking to customers, and on the phone, all I kept hearing him say was, well, I'm not sure. I'd like to say in 3 or 4 weeks, but I can't really tell you. Oh, yeah, I mean, we usually carry those, but we don't have them right now. Yeah, we're not sure when they're going to come in. We have other types that would work for you, but they are more expensive. That's what I kept hearing. It was that same conversation over and over and over again. Tires, something that we don't think about. Most of them are manufactured overseas. Most of them that are affordable are definitely manufactured overseas. Do you have good tires? Like, they're only going to get more expensive because you're not going to be able to get the ones that are actually affordable. Those are going first. And that comes to everything, which has its benefits, right? If you're going to buy something that is for a certain application, usually the cheapest version is not the best. And being forced to buy something in the mid-tier range and up to the expensive range maybe is better for you in the sense of getting better quality product. But we didn't want to be forced to have to do that, and that's where we are now. And that's what you're seeing on websites all over the place, right? If you want the budget-friendly camera, which is what I'm looking for, good luck. If you want the $1,400 camera, you can get it, okay? And that's pretty much across the board everything right now. You want to get the really expensive thing, you can still get it. If you want to get the budget thing, it might be sold out. Or it was $20, $40, $60 more than it was last time. It's just what we're doing, okay? Now, let's get in the chat. I want to kind of chat with everybody here for a little bit because that's always something that I think is important because that's why you guys are here, and I think that it's a good time. Prepper Now says, Mr. Nobody coming for you. I'm not exactly sure what he's referencing, so I'm okay with it. JS, tires are being hit by the rubber shortage. Exactly, okay? It's not just the rubber, though. It's the ports being clogged, so you can't ship them, and it's the labor because nobody can load them, nobody can unload them, nobody can put them on your car when you're at the tire shop. I mean, it's a million different things. I was quoted an hour and a half for service today. It was like 2.5 hours. That's just what happens now. Was I mad? No, because I already knew that was going to happen. But everybody's still trying to, I don't know, stay in business. So they're not going to tell themselves, like, well, everything's going to take 6 hours because then nobody's going to come in, right? Let's see here. Somebody asked how the water supply is in North Dakota, GB. Not good. I mean, it's dry, real dry. And we better have a hefty winter because otherwise we're just going to be from dry to dry. And yeah, I would like some rain. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Trying to get in here in the chat, guys. I'm just trying to make sure that we are in here. HVAC industry struggling for stock. Jarrett Funtner. I think that's how you say it. I'm trying my best here. Look, HVAC industry, of course, there's so many components and raw materials and extremely expensive resources that go into air conditioning and heating and everything else related to that. Yes, those are the things I'm talking about with your home. Don't wait for things that need to happen because they're not going to get cheaper. They're going to be more expensive and they're going to be harder to get. And so it sucks, but it's what we have to do right now. And I'm not really a fan of like going out and just spending the money just because we have it now. But at the same time, I feel like every time I wait on something lately, I have regrets because I end up spending more for it down the road, right? And I think we all see that, especially since last year. I mean, crap, if you're buying ammunition, how do you feel? There you go. Apply that to everything else and then assume the same because that's where we're heading, okay? All right. trying to just kind of jump in here. And I just want you guys, Tactical Prepper says gas prices will increase. And that is definitely true as well. So everything across the board is getting hit. Everything is going to get more and more difficult to acquire. Everything is going to be more expensive. Do what you have to do now. And when I say that, I don't mean just buy stuff. I also mean plan. Look at your budget. Look at your finances. What can you do about maybe cutting some costs, right? What can you do about planning ahead for the inflation that's happening? Okay, if inflation is going to be hitting at 14% and you're not adding an additional 14% buffer to your budget, then you're going to be negative very soon. This is what we mean about planning ahead and preparing for these things. Yes, preparing means food, water, power, all the things, right? But it also means, do I have the ability to keep moving forward once this stuff occurs? Because there's no guarantee this is going to collapse us to the point of the Stone Age again, right? There's a guarantee that it's going to be difficult, but difficult doesn't always equate to Mad Max. And unfortunately, and I'm only saying this because it's Marauder Monday, but unfortunately, sometimes a lot of our money spent would be almost better off during Mad Max than what it is just trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. Now, isn't that true? You guys tell me in the chat. All right. So, and guys, if you do have a question for me directly, tag me in it just so I see it. That way it highlights it and I'm like, oh, because I just saw this from Pony Girl. And it says, I remember when we were the exporters of food, then they did the deals and covered up the land, and now we depend on the other continents. And yes, of course. And there's always that discussion about trying to return, more of our production to the country. Unfortunately, and I'm just saying this because, yes, there is a lot of manufacturing potential here in the United States. But unfortunately, I do think that we have a certain population, a certain portion of the population that relies on a certain cost level of good that is almost impossible to create under the conditions that we have here in this country. And that's just based on things like, labor practices, right? Fair labor, trying to pay people decent wages, not being able to pay people $1 an hour and stuff like that. Maybe utilizing your younger people for more work. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's see here. Let's talk a little more because that's what we're here for. And I do want to say thank you guys. Every freaking Monday that I come here and all of you are up on here chatting, hanging out, doing the thing. Love it. You guys are the best. And honestly, like, it makes it worth me allocating this time every single week to be here. So I appreciate it. I hope that you guys find some useful information and find some motivation through these conversations, because that's a lot of the goal here. The goal is not just to be, oh no, here it all comes, there you go, right? I often think of Samuel L. Jackson during Jurassic Park telling you to hold onto your butts, because that's honestly how I feel most of the time. But what I do want to say is that I hopefully help, motivate a lot of us to kind of prepare more. And even I get motivation from being here, talking with you all and talking to you in the chat, and just kind of reminding myself of where things are, and what is happening. Because by seeing all of this and kind of talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, crap, I got to get out there and get some more stuff done. And it's true. Okay. So, all right, we got some, now I got some questions I can see coming in. Thank you for that. Okay. Vegan Prepper says, so agree on frugality. Making from scratch, learning old world skills, and eating more whole foods can really help with the budgeting. Right now we're doing some dieting in the house. I'm doing some meal prep, and just doing meal prep has helped a lot. We have 5 meals prepped out for the week, and it's like there's less time consumed on 5 days a week. There's less cleanup. The food is lasting longer because we're not going back for seconds and all those things that we're usually doing. We're just eating what's there, and that's it. And it's helping our budget, it's helping our diet, and it's helping us be more disciplined. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Let's see, I've got Monashi Prepping. Your thoughts on spending money on education for the future? Do you think it's worth it now? Okay, I'll say this. I think that spending money on learning applicable skills and techniques is very valuable. Okay. I think that when it comes to education, and this is my personal preference, I'm not a financial advisor and I do not tell anybody how to live their life. This is just my personal experience that I'm sharing with you anecdotally. Disclaimer done. Okay, so my personal thought on it is that spend money on education if there is a goal in mind. Spend money on education if there's a reason for why that education is required for you to move forward into the direction that you want to be in. I think spending money on education just to have education doesn't necessarily make sense anymore. Nowadays, you can go to a trade school and get a job making $40 an hour doing a trade that's rewarding and has applicable skill outside of your career. You know, it actually helps you as a person to know how to build things and make things with your hands or fix things or whatever else it might be. And you're making lots of money and there's less schooling. It's less expensive to learn those trades. And you come out with a very rewarding career that also easily opens the door to owning your own business or whatever it is you want to do. Okay. General education, getting a degree that's not specialized and then just having a degree doesn't really necessarily separate the playing field the way it used to. And you can see that all over the job reports. You can see that when it comes to different companies now, especially during this labor shortage. People are not concerned about a bachelor's degree in the same way that they used to be. Now they're just saying, well, who's the right person for the job or who has the skills or the experience, which is generally considered to be more valuable. And that's where they're heading because now it's just like they need people. And honestly, they're finding that a lot of people with experience tend to perform better down the road rather than the person who's, you know, fresh out of school with a degree that doesn't really know how the job itself works. So that's just my 2 cents. If you're spending money on education, make sure that there's a good reason behind it. Make sure you have a plan in place as to what that education is going to do for you. Okay, it's an investment just like anything else. I wouldn't invest in some stock without understanding why it's a good idea. You know, that's like just investing just to invest. Why would you do that? You want to do some research, you want to have a plan, and you want to have goals in mind. And that if you're not reaching those goals, you then pivot, right? So just my thoughts. And I think trade school is kind of where it's at these days. And here's just another disclaimer. I did go to college. I did not graduate college. I have had a very successful career without a degree. Personal experience, okay? So let's see. Welcome to my life says, think we can do a chat over a campfire. Well, not right now, because then I'll probably burn down the entire state of North Dakota. So I don't think I can. Okay. And, you know, I do see a lot of stuff in the chat here, guys, about the Costco situation, how they're already putting limits on more products and stuff like that. It's coming. It's coming. And it's not even about this or that anymore. It's weird because we're getting a lot of people coming out and they're saying like, well, there's panic buying again. Okay. I mean, we're not seeing it in the way that we saw it in March of 2020. But I mean, people are buying more, yes, because people are just more aware of what's happening in the world and more concerned about making sure they have what they need. But the panic buying compared to what we saw previously isn't there in the same way. So the limits on things, I have a feeling, are more to do with supply and more to do with the labor shortages than they are anything else. But it is easy to demonize the concept of panic buying and blame the consumer for these new restrictions, right? So you're a Costco executive, and it's like, hey, you know, if we don't put a limit on paper towels, we're going to run out like tomorrow. Okay, well, put a limit on them. Well, people are going to get mad because they want more paper towels. They always buy a lot. Well, let them know it's their fault. Okay, they bought too much and they're buying too much, and we've seen an uptick in sales in that department that is going to be unsustainable. So we have to limit it for your well-being, because if we don't limit it, you won't get any paper towels. Boom, problem solved. Okay, and yeah, I don't work for these companies, but they should probably hire me. Okay, all right. So law of the minimum. Thank you so much for the super chat. Disclaimer, as always, prepare for yourself first before you guys send me money. But I do appreciate it, okay? And if you want to support me, but you also want to get something out of it, I'm just doing the shameless coffee link right now. Boom. Okay, guys? Take it or leave it. Invader Coffee's awesome. Their Mexican chocolate coffee's awesome. I'm throwing it out there. And I do get like a commission, but it's small. It's more about supporting a good company. That's not BRCC, okay? Anyway, law of the minimum says 2 months ago, I was laughed at for buying a generator in case there's no power at job site. Tomorrow, PG&E will do a blackout, and I saved the day for people. Yeah, it's so obvious, man. It just is. And like, A generator is such a basic piece of equipment these days. In the year 2021, a generator is an archaic device in all reality, especially if it's a gas generator, right? So, yeah, I mean, everyone should just try their best to have one. If you don't have a generator, have some type of way to create power. I don't care if it is a handheld, phone-sized little, battery pack that has a solar panel on it. As long as you have a way to generate some power on your own without anyone else, you're doing better than a lot of people. And a lot of people scoff at those things, and it's out of ignorance, but it's also out of, I would say fear in many ways, because maybe they don't find the priority there. Maybe they don't have the money to do it, or maybe they just don't want to allocate the funds to do something like buying a generator. But they're afraid to admit that it's a good idea, and they're afraid to admit that it's something they might need, because if they ever need it, A, will they know how to use it? B, will they be scared to use it? C, will it burn down there's so many questions that people want to put out there to give you justifications for why they don't need things like a generator. So I do want you to know that you're making a good move, and a lot of people will scoff at it no matter what you do. If I get a survival bunker from Atlas Shelters, I will be scoffed at by a lot of people. People will be like, you're a crazy person, and that's ridiculous. What a waste of money. Will it be legit? Yeah. And I won't care that they're upset about it, because if the one day I'm in it when there is some kind of crazy fallout going on, I'll be glad I have it, and they will be mad that they thought I was an idiot. So, guys, I don't have plans for that yet, but I would get one. Don't you get me wrong, okay? I need something, right? This is a tornado-prone area, and I need somewhere underground to be, and I currently don't have a basement, okay? But it's something we're working on, okay? We knew when we were buying that it was like, right on the edge of season and stuff like that. I'll be taken care of, don't worry. But I also have justification for a bunker, so you tell me if it's a bad idea or not, all right? Only one says I ever think about quail. Yeah, I've thought about that. It's tough. All right. So not to get too crazy, but my wife has an egg allergy. Okay. I don't want to share too much personal information here, but that does make it difficult. So when it comes to different birds, like we've tried duck eggs and stuff like that, and it's not successful. So, we're trying to figure out what's going to work best for us when it comes to raising small animals for continuous gains when it comes to food production and stuff like that. We might still do chickens anyway, but we just have to keep that in mind as that being one of the things that we have to plan for ahead. Okay, so there you go. Brenda Bodwin says it's easier to support your channel by doing this. I'm just too lazy to order coffee. Totally fine. I don't blame you at all. I just appreciate all the support. And when it comes to support, when I say that, I literally mean you guys just being here. I really do appreciate it. I never thought we'd be doing Marauder Mondays live here every Monday and having, almost 600 people here hanging out and talking. And that's so powerful, 600 people that are all like-minded and have the concept of preparedness and want to move forward in their preparedness and actually make a difference when it comes to that is such a big deal. And I just don't know if everybody knows that or not. So congratulations to you for being here, for being proactive, and probably being one of the survivors when things go sideways, okay? And when Marauder Mondays becomes Marauder every day, because there's going to be some. And that's one of the reasons why we prepare. That's one of the reasons why I do things like take carbine classes, because that is a real thing. It really just is, okay? We can't keep pretending like people will all be good and all take care of each other when things fall apart. There are opportunists, and there are people that don't care about you and never will. And it's unfortunate, but true. Okay, let's see here. I'm seeing a few things. CLM says trucking will be obsolete in 15 years. Automated bots don't get pregnant or ask for raises or need time off, and they can run 24/7, and truckers better have a backup soon. Okay, so I think that there's some validity to that, because I think a lot of industries are looking to move to automated everything. Okay, now the logistics will be really difficult, because trucking is not just about driving the vehicle. I mean, obviously there's unloading the trucks and loading them and everything else too, but there is a lot. Okay, all right, so all I'm trying to say is that yes, everyone should prepare to be replaced by automation at some point, okay? And one thing that I was maybe not necessarily alluding to in my last video, but just something to consider is that it's easy to make automation do what you want with zero regard for humanity. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, and I think Christian from Ice Age Farmer recently talked about that, saying that there is no leeway with automation, right? There is no oh, you're good, man. You forgot your paperwork at home. Just go on ahead. I see you every day. You're cool. There's none of that. There's none. It's you have it or you don't. Okay, it's black and white. It's green or red. It's whatever it is when it comes to the little checkbox or the X that they're going to throw in your face when you are or not allowed to proceed. And I think we can see that happening very soon here in a lot of different ways. Okay, so keep that in mind. And I mean, in case you guys don't know, I mean, Ice Age Farmer, Christian over there is like he's like tech canceled. Okay, so and that's like a whole different level of canceled. So just keep an eye on him if you guys know about him and you watch him. Like keep an eye on what he's got going on, because he's got great information, and it's very unfortunate that it's having a hard time reaching everyone. Okay, so let's see here. Maybe I shouldn't have talked about it because I don't I don't know if they're going to take me out now. Okay, so I don't know. He's got a collaborator. Got to go. Let's see. I did see somebody else mention what about rabbits, and same issue with rabbits as eggs. So we are working on the best solution there. But I appreciate you guys trying to find solutions for me. I really do. Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. Universal Prepper says, get shelf-stable food now. I agree. Okay. Gosh. It's just hard, man. It's just hard. It's I want to try to make a video soon about priority of prepping. And we've already talked about that in the past, but like I feel like there needs to be a shift possibly based on current conditions, because it's easy to talk about what's important to prep when you're just in normal everyday life, right? When you have an easily budgeted paycheck every 2 weeks and things are accessible and affordable, and you can move forward and say, okay, here's how much I spend on food every paycheck. Here's how much I spend on water storage or water solutions. Here's how much I spend on self-defense. Here's how much I spend on anything related to prepping, right? But I think nowadays there's a shift that needs to occur there, because yes, I mean, God, we're never going to have enough food. We're just not. But if we don't change some of our spending habits to prioritize the things that may not be available sooner than things like food, then we're going to be without, and that's just kind of my opinion as of right now, and I'm definitely speaking more to the specialties out there, the people who require specialty equipment or specialty services to kind of keep things moving forward. That is definitely a tough place right now. And the people who want things, expensive stuff, it's harder to afford so that it's still there because the demand's not as high because it's only for a certain price point. But that stuff is going to be hard to produce and hard to keep up over time. And you're going to be buying a lot of like stuff that was made, a year or two ago, and then finally getting it now. And then there's not going to be a lot of stuff being made right now. So, and when I say that, I mean, I'm talking about high-end stuff. You're talking about thermal or night vision or stuff like that. And even if you're talking about like large-scale solar power, okay? I know, Prescott Caliber Club recently like set his whole house up to be like solar, and it's like super impressive, okay? But at the same time, I guarantee you a lot of the components there are going to be difficult to acquire at some point. And yeah, it's an expensive endeavor, but aren't you going to be glad you have it now rather than never being able to have it? These are just things I have to think about for myself, that I share my thoughts with you all, because that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Let's see here. I did see a couple of chats come through, and you guys are awesome, man. Let's see. So Yak River Rancher says I should check out the book Strategic Relocation because of all the problems here in North Dakota. Totally get that. And here's something I guess I will share with you guys, because it's also something to consider, and I want you guys to kind of keep this in mind. You have to still live in the real world, Okay. So sometimes your choices are determined based on circumstance, right? I'm not wealthy. I don't have the ability to pick up and buy a home wherever I end up, right? If I had 400 grand laying around that could buy me enough property and a small home to make me happy wherever I wanted in the country, that would have already happened, right? But circumstance is definitely something you have to work with, and don't use it as an obstacle. Use it to your advantage. Okay. So circumstance led me to North Dakota because I needed to get out of California. I needed to make better money. I needed to be able to afford my family and create a better quality of life. Okay. Job relocation was offered. I moved. Here I am. I established myself, got some roots set up, and now I'm in a situation where I was able to use the income from the job I had to purchase the house that I'm in now. Okay. And now understand that is where I'm at the exact place I would have chosen on the map of the entire country if I was allowed to be wherever I wanted to be? Probably not. Okay. I don't think anybody is really in that situation unless they're extremely lucky. There's a very small percentage of people that are exactly where they want to be. But is where I am much better than where I was? And is what I have very doable in the sense of being able to be more self-reliant and more self-sufficient than what I could do before? 100%. Okay. We have acreage now. Okay. We have a home that fits our entire family and our family can grow in. Okay. We have access to country and rural land all around us, but we also have access to town and, my kids' school and stuff like that without having to drive hours. So there's a lot of benefits to where we are. There's some cons as well, but the cons are much less than they were before, and the benefits are much more than what I've ever had before. So just keep that in mind, because I just want to kind of share that with everybody. It's often you get the conversation like, oh, where do you live? Okay. Why would you choose there? It's not always about like, oh, I chose there. Often it's going to be about where I was able to do the best I could with what I had. Okay. Which meant a proximity to a job, which meant a certain amount of money and budget you're willing to work with, which meant a minimum amount of acreage you're looking for, which then limits the amount of real estate that you're able to access. And it just kind of keeps going on from there. So where we are now with where we were, able to go is one of the best solutions we had. And that's what we took. So I encourage everyone to kind of keep that in mind. If you wait forever to find that perfect remote location in the mountains that has a cave entrance and has a river running through it and has a perfect backdrop for a shooting range and has fully fenced in areas for livestock and has a solar farm already built into it, I mean, you might never get there. Okay? Most people don't ever get there. But if you're willing to compromise and then build up from the ground up with where you are, there's a lot you can accomplish. Okay? So waiting for that perfect situation often leads to just waiting forever. Just my 2 cents. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of keep that in mind. And let's see. Bobby Arnett says the cold is your friend sometimes. I agree with that. Not only does it deter a lot of people who hate the cold, because I think that's like the majority of people, to be honest, but it would deter people from wanting to migrate this way during a huge disaster, because like, what are we going to do in the winter? And it will deter things that I hate, like bugs. And every year when it gets really cold and every single bug is completely dead or frozen, my life is so much better. So I just wanted to share that. B. Jammin says I'm a salesperson. You know what? My job was not sales. I will tell you that. But what I will say is that I did spend a lot of years in the hospitality business as a service person, whether or not that was as a bartender, as a server, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I was a cook. I did everything in that business. And I will tell you, waiting tables and bartending will make you a salesperson, whether or not that was your intended goal. And your ability to conversate with the general public is a valuable skill to have, because it's not an easy skill to acquire, because it is difficult to swallow your pride on a regular basis. Okay. So Exile Reviews, thank you so much for that. I do like stickers, and I don't know why, but thank you so much. Let's see here. CLM says, no, Dak, have to be in the oil field. Nope. I know everyone thinks so, but no, that was not it. So, but I mean, really good guess, obvious that you would guess that, and most people do. But no, So awesome, right? Even with a relocation package job, I did not go to the oil field. It's amazing. There is other industry in North Dakota, I swear. All right. Okay, and guys, I just want to say that there's so many good conversations that happen in this live chat that it's hard to keep up with. And I'm sorry if I don't get to every single one of you. But what I will say is that I'm glad all of you get to interact with most of the chat that's happening because, I mean, there's some valuable information in there. And there's also some good thought-provoking conversation. You know, welcome to my life says healthcare can also teach you conversation skills. It's even more critical. 100%. Could you imagine that, you know, having bad bedside manner? Because, you know, I've interacted with plenty of doctors and nurses in the past that have had bad bedside manner, and it leaves an impression and not a positive one. So it is a skill to try to deal with patients that are generally ornery, generally don't want to be there, and generally don't want to comply with the things you're trying to make them do. And I do applaud the nurses and doctors and healthcare workers out there that put up with those people and still maintain a level of professionalism with them. So very difficult, I assume. Okay. Bill Morrow, is there a game going on? Guess Magic Prepper's job. That's the game, actually, yes. Or I lied. I guess I'm a coffee salesman. You guys caught me. All right. But not like the guy in Clear and Present Danger. Okay. That was a different type of coffee salesman. But also one of my favorite movies of all time. And I mean, if you're not a Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan fan from that era, I mean, that's a tough era of Tom Clancy to beat. You don't have to love Harrison Ford to love those movies. I'm just going to throw that out there because I wish people would just not talk about their personal beliefs when it comes to being on an elitist ivory tower throne in Hollywood and talking about things as if you have real life experience. Like, I'm sorry, you don't. Okay. Stay survived. Oh man. Well, he guessed it. Yep. That's where Magic Prepper came from, actually. I was inspired by Magic Mike. My nighttime job is as a male stripper. So, yes, you nailed it. And that you got me. So it's weird, though, because I don't make much money. And in fact, most of the time I get kicked out of the clubs because they don't actually want me there. I just show up and start performing. So it's an issue, but I'm working on it, okay? So, oh, man, I hope everyone here is good with sarcasm because I'm not. I'm not good at delivering it. You know. So Hacksaw mentioned something good. Okay, has anyone finished Christmas shopping? Right. So I do know one channel I watch and I do suggest it is Full Spectrum Survival. Okay, lots of information there, and Brad over there uses like an algorithm to compile all of the different news that's out there relating to things in the sense of like collapse and everything else that we are concerned about. You might not like him, you might like him. It's up to you. I mean, everyone has their personal choices when it comes to channels, but I do think Full Spectrum Survival brings a lot of good, interesting topics to the forefront. And one of the things he just talked about recently was that places like Walmart are actually canceling layaway this year before the holiday season. And what's interesting is that they've done that always. And it's not necessarily something that impedes sales because generally people come through with their layaway because they're trying to buy gifts for their kids, but they can't always afford them that day, but they want to make sure they have them for when the time comes. Understandable, right? But not going to be able to access that this year. So I'm worried a lot of, families that have been hurt by this crisis are not going to be able to have the kind of Christmas that they're used to having. That's unfortunate. I'm not going to lie. And at the same time, it also shows you how dire this whole situation is because if Walmart's just like, sorry, no can do, that's how short the supply is. They don't even think they can sustain a layaway, okay? And, that's guaranteed money most of the time. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people who don't go through with their layaway, and I understand that, trust me. But what I'm saying is that, generally a business likes the idea of like, okay, so you'll buy it, but just like later, but you'll give me some money now. Yeah, here you go. It's called cash flow. And a lot of times cash flow is more important than profit because that cash flow keeps the lights on. It keeps things moving. So businesses are usually open to that. So when a huge business like Walmart is saying no to it, saying no to cash flow, that's concerning, okay? And it should definitely keep you on your toes when it comes to making sure your Christmas shopping is done early this year because you're right. I mean, I do think that there's going to be some issues there, okay? And CLM, you said you had to unsub FSS and they're a bit off the rails. I mean, I get it. Look, everyone has different taste. All right. I watch everybody. I even watch people that I don't like. I'm not going to tell you who. All right. That's not for you to know. But what I'm saying is that I still feel that there's pertinent information within the content that they put out, whether or not I like people or not. So there's a lot of that to be had. And, it's like the same as when I look on CNN for what it is that they're putting out there to reference some kind of source or something like that. I know where I'm going, right? I know that like by going there, I'm just like having to, suit up. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm about to enter the realm, right? But then it actually helps sometimes with seeing that outside perspective of, okay, well, I mean, this is what they're saying, which tells me that this is what they're alluding to, or at least trying to push. And it gives me more insight as to like where we're headed. So, like I said, I'm not a huge fan. Okay. But you got to go sometimes. You got to go to CNN. I should never say those words in public. All right. So, CR, you're going to make handmade crafts for gifts this year. Go for it. Go for it. You know what's funny is that preppers are very crafty people. There's a lot of skills. There's a lot of hands-on skill that is in the prepping community. And what I find interesting is that as adults, handcrafted stuff becomes more and more valuable over time, right? The older you get, the more you appreciate that thing that grandma made for you, right? As a kid, my grandma, like I specifically remember this, my grandma made me this like pillowcase, right? And like as a kid, I was just like, okay, it's a pillowcase. I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like what? Okay. But as an adult, I'm like, man, that pillowcase is legit. I have a kid's book for my kids that was mine that was, made by my grandma. And it's like, now I care about that book so much. And I see my kids like throwing it around and I'm like, don't touch that book, and it's like, it's funny, but it's true. Like that actually has so much more meaning a lot of times than a lot of this other materialistic crap. So just keep that in mind. Don't ever feel bad about handmade gifts because they have a sentimental value that grows over time, which actually, in my opinion, becomes more valuable than just about anything else they usually have. It's even like, I'll just throw this out there so you guys kind of know. I have a K-bar fighting utility knife on my battle belt, right? And it's like, often I get the comment like, well, that K-bar, it might not hold up for bushcraft, or you might not be able to baton wood, or, you might not be able to do some of the heavy lifting stuff because of that rat tang that it has, right? And I know that. And I'm like, no, I get it, okay? But at the same time, that K-bar has sentimental value. This was a gift from my wife. And so it's like one of those things where, having that with me, especially if I'm in a situation where I'm wearing a battle belt, has like that sentimental prowess to it where it's like, yes, like this is what I want on me because it's also like that reminder and it has like that value, So it's just like, it's just not everything has to be material only. That sentimental value has a lot to it. So don't feel bad about doing those kinds of things when it comes to gifts. Okay. I don't know why I went on such a tangent on that one, but probably because a lot of us won't be able to get the gifts we want to give this year. And when you're asking for gifts, be strategic because I don't know who it is that's gifting you, but understand that if you're getting too specific, it might be hard for them and you're creating a hardship now, okay? And no one likes that whole, I got this for you. I know you really wanted this one, but they only had this one. No one feels good about that. So don't do that to someone. Make sure you do something that's going to be easy to find, okay? So, got to get back in the chat now because those tangents were long ones, all right? So TR said, when I was a kid, my family didn't have a lot of money. My mother made me a blanket for my 11th birthday. It's one of my most prized possessions. 100%. I get it. And see, there you go. So don't feel bad if you do something for your kids now and they hate it or they think it's dumb because 20 years from now, they're going to be like, man, I wish I still had that. Or man, I'm so glad I have that. Okay. So Brenda Bodwin, thank you so much. I do appreciate you always supporting. And it says, my guess, you took a job on one of the farms or ranches and the house you buy, you're buying from your boss. Nope. But it was a good guess. And it just wasn't right. Sorry. But it's a good guess. So we're moving in that direction. All right. All right. So why did that message get flagged? I don't get it. Whatever. Mods, you're on top of it. Thank you so much. Let's see. Arkansas Living says, I want an APC from Christmas. My wife's been looking everywhere. Good luck. I hope you get what you're asking for. I really do. Okay. So all I'm saying is that this has been an excellent chat. Excellent chat. But we are at 1 hour and 20. And so I think we're going to wrap it up here. So all I want to say to everybody that's still here, like, thank you so much. Awesome to see you here every week. Most of you are here every week. It's freaking crazy. And I know there's other good channels that do live streams on Monday nights as well. So I appreciate that you're spending time here. I also appreciate you spending time over there too. Like I said, alternate perspectives, learning from other people. You don't have to like somebody to try to get nuggets of information here and there. And that's what I often do. But don't be afraid to spend your time at somebody else's live stream. But I do appreciate you being here. I really do. And if there's people you guys want to see as guests here on this live stream, let me know, because I've networked with a few people now. We're starting to work on getting some more guests here, and I have some cool ones coming up in the future that I haven't been able to announce yet. But what I want to do is, continue the conversation with other perspectives. So you guys go ahead, send me a message, through my email or whatever, if you think of other names. If I haven't got back to an email from you here in a little bit, I apologize. I've gotten back to some, I know, but there's a lot that are buried, and it's like they're like unnaturally buried in my email. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's been difficult getting through those sometimes. So always feel free to re-message me if you're not getting the information back. So you guys are amazing. I really want to make sure that everyone here understands that. And these times are uncertain. Stop feeling like anything is guaranteed. Everything has risk. Everything has the possibility of not existing tomorrow. And I don't want anyone to get caught off guard by that. If you go to click order now, and it says out of stock, you should already assume that at this point. If you go to the store to buy something and it's not there, that's where you should be at. And one thing I'll leave you with, okay, real quick, is I'm allocating a lot of my purchases lately to in person, because what I found is that in person, I'm finding things that are actually out online. So see what you can find in person first, because it's possible that it's out there, but you might have to do a little bit more legwork. But like even that camera that I was talking to you guys about, I mean, it's gone in the stores in my area. But I know if I was to go a little bit further out, that it's in a couple other stores according to their website, right? So there are some things still out there in the wild that you can't even order online anymore. So just keep that in mind. And if you can support a small business or a local store, that's always a better option. And if you can support a small business, even if it's an online store, I would always go that route. And make sure you guys, if you're not on Patreon, which is totally fine because I don't expect everyone to be able to do that or want to do that. But if you're not, at least make sure you guys go on my website and sign up for MAGIC. I'm still working on building out the networking capabilities of what I'm trying to accomplish here. But what that at least will do is give you certain announcements based on some stuff that's coming up, based on guests we're having on the show. It'll also give you like discount codes to different places and stuff like that. So I just figure it's a good thing to sign up for, because then I can give that to you guys and give you options when it comes to being better prepared and maybe save some money too. Like I'll try to do what I can. All right. And I'm trying to work with businesses that are small and American and that want to do what they can to try to give everybody better quality products and be fair with their business practices. So, and maybe not support certain agendas or anything like that. So you guys are awesome. I am done talking, so I will do my thing because I have to do my thing, and that is going to be it for Magic Prepper.